would like to welcome each and every one of you to our first annual Men's Employment and Networking event.
It's important to have an event like this because we have a number of men who are receiving services from our department who need a hand up to become employed and be better able to take care of their families and move away from dependence on government assistance and be self-sufficient.
Our gentlemen that are in our employment and training programs have a better opportunity to get employment. Also to know some of the resources that they need to be more successful in our community.
They are beautiful people, you know what I'm saying? They help you out, whatever you need.
It's been really an awesome event for me.
Oh, they're awesome. Awesome people, they're very helpful.
At 8 o'clock in the morning, we opened up to resources and employment. And so what the men come into is they get kind of a guide on what's happening. They come in and talk to employers and identify resources that they would need.
In this room right now, I was fixing my resume, updating my resume in the correct way, in the correct format.
My resume is done. I'm here to look for a job.
I came into this process 3 months ago with a lot of my own ideas about how to conduct the search, how to do the resume, and I had to finally reach a place where I had to ask for help because I wasn't getting the results I desired.
My #1 goal is jobs. I want to help people get jobs.
3 weeks without a job.
I've been out of work for a month now.
I've been on the job search now for about 3.5 months.
Very nervous. I have an apartment and I don't have the money to pay for the next month, and that gets me nervous.
It's kind of tough, it's kind of discouraging, you know, but got to keep your head up.
From a motivating standpoint, it's really been the push that I needed, and people have just gone out of their way to help me refine my search, refine my resume, the interviewing process, how to answer questions on the application that are difficult to answer, but I had to come to that place. I had to be willing to come to that place to let someone help.
We will bring in clothing, and so they'll have the opportunity to pick clothing that would help enhance their opportunities to get employment.
Like, I didn't have a suit jacket today. I have a suit jacket, so, you know, I'm kind of feeling good.
And I want to thank all you gentlemen for participating. Great employers here. And I think the idea kind of came from our Woman Helping Woman event, and you know, we do that twice a year. So, you know, maybe we can have some healthy competition about how, you know, with the women one. Let's see who can participate more and get more people employed and that. So, thank you for coming. And now I'd like to introduce our Board of County Commissioner Chair, Dennis Heisey.
I was a logger out in Oregon. Grew up in the Northwest, and twice as many loggers are working in the summertime than they are the wintertime. That's just kind of the nature of the beast, and you know, a job at end sometime, and you'd find yourself not able to find other work. I've been laid off, been just up and fired too. That's I get it that's kind of hard on you. That it's one thing when the job ends, it's another thing when they come to you and say, you know, we just really don't need you here anymore. So I understand that you have to work through some of that stuff. And you probably have run across some old guy that says, well, I've never been unemployed a day in my life. Okay, whatever. You know, it didn't work for me and probably hasn't worked for you either. So, but the one thing you can't do is you can't give up. You being here today proves that you're not. So you know, thank you for being here. You have to work as hard to get a job as your employer expects you to work once you get one. It's a full-time gig. You don't go put in an application and wait for the phone to ring, and when it doesn't, a month later you go put in another application, and you guys are proof that being here today is proof that that's not how you're handling that. I've been an employee. Currently I'm an employee. I work for the county, I work for you. I've been an employer, and I've been self-employed, you know, kind of the one-man band thing, and sometimes when you're doing that, you suddenly find you don't have much work to do, and it's really hard to tell the difference between that and being unemployed. But you know, that's the way it works. But when you're looking for a job, everybody you know is a resource. You have to follow up on every lead you have. Every interview is a learning experience. I did spend, after my logging days, I spent most of my life being self-employed. Sometimes, it was a one-man deal. Sometimes I did have some employees. But when I was ready to run for commissioner, I started having to do interviews. And I hadn't done many interviews for a long time, so I looked at every interview as a learning experience. I didn't think any one of them was a make it or break it. If I blow this interview, I'll never be able to be county commissioner. And there's another story behind that, but I'd been planning on being county commissioner for years and got kind of distracted by jobs and family and moving from the West Coast out here. But anyway, that aside, I always thought I was going to be county commissioner, and these interviews, those are the people that endorse you. Those are the people that give you money. Those are the people that kind of make it happen in the community. And I looked at every one of them as a learning experience. Okay, what did I do right? What did I do wrong? None of them did I ever think, this is it. If I don't do this one right, I might as well pack my bags and go home, because there's always another interview. There's always another chance. And employers are looking for people with a good attitude, people that are going to be there on time every day, even Mondays. And when I was logging out in Oregon, that's I don't know that I would call them a rough crowd. Some of them were, but they partied pretty hard. They lived for the weekend. And if you grew up in the Northwest, you'll understand this. We had what we called the Olympia flu, and people only had it on Monday mornings. Olympia is a regional beer brewed in Tacoma, Washington. Everywhere else in the country, it's probably called the Budweiser flu. But when I was logging, and I was much younger and a little more fit then, but I'd been laid off. I ran heavy equipment, chainsaws, a little bit of everything. But I got laid off because the job had ended, and now it was winter, it was raining, and only certain types of equipment could work in the rain, and that wasn't necessarily what I did. But I applied for a job. I saw something in the paper, applied for the job, and I knew there were a lot of people who were going to be applying, because there were a lot of folks just like me that had recently been laid off when the rain set in, and I got a call and said, yeah, we'd like to have you come to work for us. And I didn't find out until later why that happened, but it was the foreman was somebody that I had worked with previously. And he said, oh yeah, I remember that Heisey kid. He liked the way I worked. He didn't know what he was going to do with me, because I wasn't qualified to run the kind of equipment he had. I could run a chainsaw. Well, it turns out that this particular job the timber had been purchased by a pole company. That would be all these wooden poles that are holding up the wires above your head out here. Those all started out as a tree somewhere, and probably in the Northwest. Well, I knew how to cut poles. There are a lot of specs. Knots can only be so big. If it's this big here, it's got to be this big here. All those kinds of things. And it just happened to be one of those skills I'd acquired. So it turned out to be a good fit. I had winter work. That was a big thing out there. So I had winter work. And in doing that, I ended up getting to know the people at the pole company. And that later turned into a job where I was the guy going out in the woods and buying the poles. Pretty good gig. They gave me a four-wheel drive pickup. I got to drive around in the woods in Oregon. I got a paycheck every 2 weeks, 12 months out of the year. I thought that was kind of a novelty. I hadn't had that for a long time. So you never know what something's going to lead to. When you're just getting started, you know, you may find the pay is not what you were used to. And you will probably be pretty convinced the pay is not what you're worth. But sometimes you have to do a job where you're being paid what the job is worth. You may be worth more, you may have some more skills you can bring to this, but the employer will recognize that, or you will now have some current experience to put on your resume and be able to move to a different position where you can start moving back up and get to do the kind of things that you either have done or you would like to do. I had planned, like I said, I'd planned on being a county commissioner for a long time. I came out here, I worked in the moving and storage business, not particularly glamorous. Almost anybody can carry furniture in and out of the house. You have to do it carefully. They don't think it's funny when you bounce off the door jambs, but that even that led to a pretty good paying job. I ended up driving truck over the road, and so it has its downsides. I wasn't home a lot, but I was making enough to pay the bills. The one thing you'll want to do is take advantage of all the help you can find, the professional help. The way they taught me to write a resume when I was in high school, even if I could remember it, it wouldn't be what they're looking for today. So you'll find some booths back there where they're more than happy to help you present yourself as good as you can. I remember one time I had a home repair franchise. A guy showed up in a three-piece suit. You know, this isn't church, you know? And besides that, three-piece suits were kind of out of style by then. But you know, they can help you present yourself in the way you need to present yourself. You know what the job is you're looking for, know a little bit about the company that you want to work for, and then just go do it. And just would like to end on, you know, once you're hired, your responsibilities have really just begun. You've got to make the owner of the company money. That's how he can afford to pay you. So, you know, give him a full day's pay or a full day's work for a full day's pay. And one thing that is particularly difficult, it seems like, you've got to make your supervisor look good. And you're thinking, but wait a minute, I'm doing the work. I'm doing the work and I got to make him look good, or her, or whoever it is. Yeah, you do, because it all reflects back on you. And when you think nobody's paying attention and you think nobody understands, I'm the one doing the hard part here, I'm the one getting the job done, people are paying attention and people know. So good luck to all of you. I am really glad you're here.
I would like now to introduce our distinguished speaker, Ray Washington.
I want to talk a little bit today about background. Anybody know what that is? Okay. So your background is what it is. That's your life experience. And you get to take that, and some of us, we have backgrounds and we look at that as something that's not positive. We look at it as kind of, people look, you tell them what your background is and they frown, or you get the impression that it's just kind of sour like a lemon. But at the end of the day, what we get to do is take our backgrounds and call that life experience. And that's worth something, that's valuable. And we get to make that work for us opposed to against us. And the way we do that is, especially as men, we somehow along the way figure out what a man is. 9 times out of 10, we as men, we do something stupid. And we get involved in relationships and we involve children in those relationships. And if we have not come to the conclusion that life is so much not about me, then ultimately this ideal that our mate has is destroyed by our selfishness. And as a result, we bring these little boys and these little girls in, and we're not there to affirm for them, yes, you're lovely. Yes, you have what it takes. Sometimes we get to take our past, we get to take our life experience, we get to take that lemon and squeeze it, get everything we can out of it, learn from that juice, drop it in this water, take that and say, you know what? I did that. Since then, I've done this. And that's the sugar. That's the sugar. When we make a decision, say, you know what? Since then, I did that. Since then, I've done this. Now I'm going to do this. That's our sugar. And we take that, put it in that same bottle that we got flea train in and shake it up, we on to something. We got something good. We got something to offer our children. We got something to offer our community, our society. So regardless of what has happened, regardless of your past, regardless of where you are right now economically, we all have the ability to make a decision and a commitment and say, you know what? I'm going to do something about this situation. Our thoughts, our perception become our things. Let's say that one more time. Our thoughts become our things. So I encourage you to think about what you're thinking about yourself as a man. I encourage you to think about what you're thinking about with regards to employment, career paths. What do you think about that? What are you thinking, or are you thinking, what are you envisioning for yourself, or are you envisioning something for yourself with regards to employment, with regards to stability, with regards to manhood, with regards to fatherhood? What are your thoughts? They become our things. I'm going to wrap this up, but on my way out the door, I want to say this. If someone had told me $50 years ago, okay, well, maybe 40, that I would have the opportunity to do even half of the things that I'm doing in my life right now, depending on how many years ago it was, I might have hit him in the mouth, or I might have said, you know what, you're crazy. But the actuality and the reality is, one day, I came to the conclusion that life is so much not about me. And as a result of that, I started to build relationships. I started to do the next right thing. And guess what? The next right thing started to happen. That is the key to success. Get outside of yourself as a human being, as a male, and you will become a man. Upon becoming a man, you then have the opportunity and the privilege and the responsibility to become a father. As a result of that, you get to speak into the life of your little boy and your little girl. And guess what? Regardless of whether you had a father or not, you get to ensure that your little boy and your little girl has a father. And you break a cycle. You break a cycle. And as a result of that, when you do the next right thing, and the next right thing starts happening in your life, you become stable, you become responsible, you become a man and a father, and you make a contribution to this beautiful community that we get to live in. And your kids get to do the same thing with their kids. And their kids get to do the same thing with their kids. So don't underestimate the power that is within you. Don't allow anyone to tell you, dictate for you, to you, who you are. Again, I thank you. I encourage whoever has decided to pick up what I've laid down today, to live on it, to stand on it, and watch it. Watch your life and your visions come into fruition right in front of your eyes. I want to take this opportunity to thank Goodwill Industries and to thank all of you, County Commissioner, all of you guys that are doing what you're doing on a daily basis to make sure that our men and our fathers are having the opportunities and the resources that they need to stabilize themselves and strengthen their families. Thank you.